Thanks everybody for showing up. We'll get this thing going. I know that there's a lot of people in a bunch of different time zones, so we want to be cognizant of you staying up late and make sure that you get all the goodness that Mr. Brown has in store for us without staying up too late. So welcome to the AWS Portsmouth user group. Now that we are in pandemic times, it feels weird saying that because we have a lot of different attendees from all over the world. Our presenter tonight is in Canada, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yep. And we've got people as far away as India. Awesome. I love the web. Welcome folks. We're gonna get right to it. If you want to join us on our Slack channel, if you go to awspug.org, you can follow us on Twitter at awspug, and our Slack channel is awspug.slack.com. All of that can be found through the website, through awspug.org, links to the Slack and all of the goodness and information. We are in the process of updating the website, but the links all still do work. So you can find us there. Quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you so much for giving us, in pre-pandemic times, space, beer, money, and pizza. In post-pandemic times, funds to keep the Zoom running and keep the lights on. So thanks to Liberty Mutual, Seaglass Technology Partners, O'Reilly Media, and of course, AWS for all the sweet compute credits. With that, tonight we are going to talk about everything I wish I knew about AWS certifications. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I'm currently studying to resit the SA Pro again. I've taken it 3 times now, two re-ups and once for the original. So I'm curious to see all the changes that have happened since the last time I took it. And our presenter tonight is AWS hero, Andrew Brown. He actually is the founder of ExamPro, so he knows a lot about certifications. So with that, Mr. Brown, I will turn over the power to you. Are you ready to start sharing?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, there you go.
Great. And you'll have to do me one favor and just give me some access to that screen share there. So that one extra step Zoom likes to impose. Oh yeah, it's a great security feature they have.
There you go.
Wasn't me this time. That's the great part. All right, so everyone can see my screen? We're all good?
Awesome. Yes, we can see.
Great. Hey, everybody, this is Andrew Brown, your AWS community hero based out of Toronto, Canada. And this is everything I wish I knew about AWS certification. As you can see, the banana made it onto the screen. Everyone demands the banana, so you get it. So for our agenda today, this talk's a little bit different from what I normally do. A lot of times I'll have like a box time of 30 minutes to an hour, and I'm just speeding through it with a lot of information and a lot of slides. I want to take it nice and slow today and give the audience an opportunity to ask questions in between and to make it a little bit more interactive. And so I encourage you to ask questions. So those are the consideration. There's no end time for this talk. If we're done in 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, that's great, unless Chris wants to go to sleep. You can ask any questions during this talk. The way you're going to do that is, I believe, if you hit that reaction button, you can raise your hand. We'll try to watch it. I'm watching chat, but you know I'm presenting at the same time, so I might miss it. I'm just going to open up my chat here so I can see nice and clear. And this is, I mean, the talk is everything I wish I knew about AWS certification, but I always like to present things that I haven't really publicly presented before. So I kind of consider this kind of like loose ends about things about AWS certification you might not be hearing about. And this is kind of a soft talk. So I want to talk about AWS certification and things around it that you need to succeed in the industry for cloud. And so our general outline for today is we're going to be looking at the certification roadmap. I've showed this multiple times before, but just to kind of give you an idea to help you start thinking, where should you go with these certs? How AWS certification will help you get a job, if it does, and to what degree. We'll look at AWS Course Providers and Supplementary content. I have to be very careful here because everyone's sensitive about their content, but I want to make sure that you're aware of all providers out there so that you can figure out what is the best combination for you. We'll look at study habits, some tips I've noticed. I've had thousands and thousands of students, and I collect those analytics, and I can tell you some information that might help you save yourself some trouble. And then we'll look at how AWS certifications fit into your cloud journey. So that's thinking not just about, okay, I want to pass that certification, but how does that actually work within my whole scope of what my end goal is? So that is our agenda. So let's just jump into the certification roadmap. And so let's just take a look at what is on the table. So we got the CCP, our 3 associates, our 2 professionals, and a bunch of specialties. I'm a bit sad that the Lexis Skill Builder certification has gone the way of being a ghost. I think that was a great certification, just misplaced in the specialty category. They should have moved over to associate. So AWS, if you're listening, bring it back, just make it an associate, okay? Hoping for a serverless certification in the future. I think that's a really popular one that would be good if they release that. So when you're looking at all these certs, you got to say, okay, well, what is my strategy going forward? And there's a lot of different routes that you can take. And so I'm hoping that I can just expose you to some kind of titles to help you start thinking about that. And so here I have an overlay, and this is kind of through the SysOps. I have different variations on YouTube. If you find them, there's one through every single one. I'm not going to go through all of them today, but I just want to give you an idea of where you could go. So imagine you took your CCP, you went for the SysOps. Now you're a cloud engineer or junior DevOps. You can go there and do those specialties, okay? And so let's just talk about some of these roles. I really want to see if people have heard of these roles before, if they have any interest in these roles, if they have any questions. So we'll work through some here, and then I'll stop and see if we can get any questions, okay? So the first one is called a cloud engineer. This involves the same responsibilities as a web developer, but places a great emphasis on making use of cloud services. Cloud engineers focus more on the implementation details of developer solutions rather than infrastructure solutions. And so to me, this is probably the most entry-level title that I can think of is cloud engineer. And there's a lot of people that have a background in web application, web development. And I think this is the most easiest transition to cloud. So if anyone's thinking about being a cloud engineer, raise your hand or make a comment in the chat. I'd like to see that. Another very popular entry-level role would be a junior DevOps engineer. This is also known as a systems administrator, not as popular a term, or a cloud support engineer could be something that's similar. They're responsible for reacting to incidents that occur. So if a web server goes down in the middle of the night, you're the on-duty SysOps person, and you're going to be the one waking up to fix it. So similar to cloud engineer role, but it's more not dealing with the web app. It's just dealing with the infrastructure, okay? Trying to react to maintain that. Another role that you could see would be a cloud security engineer. And we see Daniel has an interest to be a cloud engineer. That's great. If you have a background in web development, love to hear that. A DevOps engineer, that'd be more your professional role there. So you could see yourself transitioning from a junior DevOps to a professional DevOps engineer, and that's going to involve automation and things like that. And then we're hearing that Nirmal is working towards a junior cloud engineer. That sounds pretty cool. Antonio, Antonio, you are a DevOps engineer? Okay, we'll call that for that. There's site reliability engineer. This one is a very, very, very popular role. I'm finding, especially if you have like practical skills. So this role focuses on implementing strategies for disaster recovery, fault tolerance, high availability. It's for boosting performance, both the developers on the team and the infrastructure itself. So imagine that you're really good with databases, and you need to tune that thing so it works really proficiently. And you got to make sure that you have good disaster recovery, or maybe you're working on global availability. So it's kind of like a specialty within DevOps there. Then we'll look at data engineer. Data engineer is a very popular role. This is where we are looking at we're looking at DevOps, but specifically for setting up data pipelines. Maybe you're working with a data scientist. Maybe you're working with a data analyst. Can we go a little bit deeper on the differences between SRE and DevOps? It's still not overly clear as to me. Most things fall in between. I think Antonio is asking that. So when you look at SRE and DevOps, SRE again is the specialization. It's a DevOps that specializes in reliability, right? Making sure that the site remains up. So it's just, that's all it is. It's just a subset. And again, like, I think a really good example is if you look at Dev, they have an SRE, and they talk a lot about the kinds of things that they have to do to keep the site reliable. So that's probably a good source to look at. Then you have DevSecOps. This is becoming a lot more popular. I think a lot of people complain about the terminology of everything being put in front of ops. I don't know if I can think of any other creative ones, but that's one that's very popular. And one AWS certification in specific is specialized for that. We'll talk about that when we get to the professional section. And then there's cloud networking engineer. Again, these are just specializations. Let's see if I can, I'm not sure how I can get annotation. I'm in single presenter mode, so I can't pull up my annotation today. Oh, maybe I can right click here. No, I can't. That's fine. But like when you look at these, a lot of these things are derivatives of the DevOps role. So SysOps, the SysOps administrator, the DevOps role for those particular ones. Okay. Now, does anyone have any questions about developer roles? Banana Ops, yeah, that's one. That's one I wish I wish I could get a job in, but I just don't have the skills yet there. Eh?
Sorry, had to do it.
Want to talk about where there is SAP? I don't know much about SAP, honestly. Oh, maybe they mean solution architect professional? Is that what we're talking about, Bruno? Okay, sorry. I think when I think of SAP, there's like an initialism for the Azure certs. I don't know what it even means. It's some kind of service or something. I would like to know where the SAP is on the roles. Could you talk a little bit about it? We'll just go back to our certification roadmap here. Again, I wish I had my annotation, but you know, like you'd be seeking a solution architect professional role probably if you want to go into actual consultancy, like with the larger companies up here in Canada. We have things like Onica and, well, I guess they're Rackspace now. What's the other one? Guru Ops and a few other ones like that. But like that's the only time I ever see anyone getting the solutions arch professional is when they're going for those consultancies for those roles. And a lot of times these solution architects are being hired to do pre-sales. So they're going into the field, talking to customers, trying to architect things rapidly and come up with a pricing schema to get adoption for a contract and things like that. Do we have any other questions there?
Looks like we're good.
Okay, cool. So that is our roadmap there. And we'll just skip on through there. And so here's a question. That's great. Okay, so how AWS certification will help you get a job. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this commercial. I don't know if it's from, what is it, from the 70s, the 80s? I don't even know. But the idea is, and this is a question that I get asked a lot, is how many AWS certifications does it take to get a job in cloud? And I would ask the audience, can you tell me how many do you think you need? 1, 3?
3.
11? I'm gonna wait for some numbers in here.
3. Oh, and the crunch too. Good job, Chris.
Oh yeah. We got 3, we got 0, we got 2. What else? Come on, we got a lot of people here. I can get more numbers. Infinity.
I'm gonna put 13 in there. All of them.
Okay.
You need all of them.
Even the legacy ones, even the retired ones, eh?
If you don't have Alexa, you're not getting a job.
That's true. Okay, great. So let's take a look here. So we'll see. Okay, 0. You need 0 AWS certifications to get a cloud role. Even AWS, like when they're hiring, they don't require you to have any AWS certifications. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the, certifications aren't worth anything. But let's just talk about that. So AWS certification by itself is not enough to obtain a cloud role and does not demonstrate the ability to perform the job, but the ability to select, determine, identify, describe, and choose. Have you seen these terms before? Have you noticed them anywhere before? I'll show you. I got a big old list of links over here, right? And I'm just going to pull up an exam guide for you. Okay, I'm just going to go over to Google. And what we'll do is go ahead and grab one here. Oh, look at that. Won't let me do it that way. That's fine. We'll just go we'll go to the source here. Any specialties in mobile app engineers? No, there is not.
Aren't they starting to make a specialty for IoT?
I don't know. I don't know about IoT one.
Okay.
I know Azure has one. But, you know, like when you look through the exam guide here, this is the stuff you're seeing. You're seeing design, choose, identify, select, choose. And that is really what that's the skill that you're gaining, right? You are gaining that muscle memory to say that you know something. We go back to our presentation style, that you know something about AWS, right? AWS certification proves that you are capable of self-study and upskilling. And, you know, if you go for a job, that is a quality, right? Like you want to know that the candidate or the applicant in front of you can learn up on the job, because when you're dealing with cloud, you're constantly being bombarded with new stuff. I turn my back and something changes, right? It's just the nature of it. So I do think that it shows that quality there. But when you look at the full resume, that's not going to be enough to get a job. one thing we'll talk about is the Amazon Partner Network. You probably heard this a lot if you've been learning about what application these certification have. So the APN is when companies go through a formal process to be partnered with AWS. Being part of the APN brings in more business for technology consultancy companies. And in order to be part of the APN, you got to pay a membership fee, you got to get specialized training, and you have to have a certain number of certification requirements to meet a particular tier. I thought it was both consultancy technology, but last time I checked, I think they only have it as a requirement for consultancy companies, but they actually have a hard requirement of how many unique people have to hold certs. So if you're working with a premier tier, like a company, that they have to have 10 people holding the CCP, and then the 25 with a minimum of 10 professional and specialty. I'm just going to pull that up as well here so you can see. So we'll take a first look at consultancy here. So we'll just pull this on down and we'll pull up a link here. So yeah, if we just go over here and give this a scroll on down, you can see under experience requirements, or maybe it's knowledge requirements here. So it talks about foundational certifications and technical certified individuals, okay? And so just to give you kind of an idea of job opportunities, if we go back to the partners page and we scroll on down, we say find an AWS partner. These are all the partners of AWS. And I think you can even sort by tier. I haven't been on this page in a while, so it may have, see there's that SAP there. I can't remember what that stands for, but there's a certification for Azure for it. And so I think there's a way you can search for partners, and I could say Toronto, and we just hit search there. And it used to let you, yeah, it does. So you can say, show me all the consultancies, right? And then you can even say the tiers. You can go select tiers and stuff like this. So this could be a great opportunity for you to know where to apply, where you know your certifications are going to be valued, right? But it really depends on the size of the company, right? So select tier, you can tell they don't need as many certs. But if you, the premier partner does, if you've ever gone to an AWS event, I've had vendors say, "Hey, Andrew, could you, do you want to be on our payroll so we can we meet our certification requirements?" It's happened to me before. But you know, if you want those opportunities, you got to go to those events, you got to network, and you too can be on payroll, so someone keeps their tier level there. I don't think AWS would probably like that, but it's true. So I'm just going to go open this back up here. And so, you know, will an APN consultancy hire you if you have lots of certifications? Yes and no. I want to give you a really good example. So this was in Toronto. I had a friend of mine and they had every single AWS certification. That's called having your gladiator belt. I don't know where the term came from, but if you have every possible available certification, it's called being a gladiator, okay? And they were friendly and charismatic. They were hired as a solutions architect with a well-known consultancy. Their essential duties was to engage in pre-sales with customers. But when it came down to it, they weren't confident and assertive with their proposed designs with team members. They lacked clear communications and emails to customers. They lacked the ability to persuade customers. Their time management skills were poor. They acted too slow to produce a design in time to close sales. So they were just fired from their job as a solution architect. And those are soft skills, right? You can't, like an AWS exam at this point right now cannot give you those skills, right? So how would you obtain those? You know, you might be able to get that through mentorship or through some schools have career services that kind of help you, coach you on that kind of stuff, or maybe you go to school, or you just have to kind of figure it out by yourself. And so that's the thing, is that I just want to really tell people, like, getting every single certification, like, you might trick a few companies to hire you, but they're not going to hold on to you unless you gain these soft skills. Okay. Anyone have any questions right now?
No questions right now.
Okay.
But I will say I heartily agree with that.
Oh yeah.
As an architect myself, with you know, in the VAR space, we look at the certifications to get them so that we can satisfy our APN status. But the soft skills are big. And you know, the confidence to be able to sit in a boardroom, talk to the executives, you know, design something on the fly on a whiteboard and talk to both the technical people and the business folks is that's a skill that you have to work at.
Cool. So let's just talk about your learning path. So there are a lot of learning providers out there for you to help you get AWS certified. You may need to mix and match to find your own right combination for you. When I set out to make a certification platform to help you learning, I really thought that I could have the end all be all solution, but I found that it did not matter what I built. People just learn differently, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. And no single provider can really give you the coverage that each individual has. So really at the end of the day, it's like, every single cloud provider wants to be like a complete solution, but I just think that it's just very hard to serve that as the market, right? So what you got to do is pick the condiments that work for you and make your own hot dog for your own journey, okay? And so let's just talk about course providers. A really easy way to kind of see them all on screen here is I just chose the a mid-tier certification course like AWS Solution Architect Associate. And we'll just go down the list here and just kind of give you an idea of price. Pricing kind of helps people to understand where they can spend their money. Some are priced higher because they offer more features, and some are lower because they have less, and all about them. But if we go down the list here, if you haven't heard these, I just wanted to make you aware of all of them, because some you just do not get exposure to, because maybe you come in through Reddit, maybe you come in through LinkedIn or Twitter, or you see an ad. And so, I think that, again, all solutions are great, but you got to find out what works for you. And I just want you to see the full list. So at the top, we have A Cloud Guru. And so for them, I don't know if they have individual pricing of their courses. I think they did originally because they were on Udemy. But again, by the way, they're the largest one of out of them, and they have a very, very large catalog. And they're about $39 a month. I say that because there's some fluctuation in that price. I'm not sure if it changes when you visit the page. But it was a bit hard to nail that down there. But again, they have basically everything that you'd ever want in there. Then you have digital cloud training. They are charged per course. That's $24.99 for there. They have courses and practice exams. I believe that if you just wanted practice exams, I think they might charge less for just part of it. So if you just liked one portion, you could do that. I believe they have digital downloads like ebooks. So if you need an ebook on the go, if it was another time you were taking the train to work, that might be useful for you. We have Adrian Catrill. He charges $40 for his mid-tier one. I believe that his professionals are $80. He's extremely comprehensive. He really likes to be extremely thorough. So if you're looking to go beyond just AWS certification, you want to really know a lot of stuff. I hear his courses are long and thorough. There's me in the middle, so ExamPro. My courses are $21 per course. My focus is really just to help you get certified. And I talk fast and loose, as you can tell. And people seem to really like my cheat sheets. I'm not sure why. That's like the last thing I ever think about. But people say, man, your cheat sheets really saved me last minute. So that's one thing that I guess I'm known for. There's CBT Nuggets, and the content creator for that is Bart Castle. I really like Bart because he like, I never show up on my videos, but he's always on video. So if you've ever been to like a live instructor, a kind of like training, it's very personal, and that helps you learn. Then I think he's really good for that. They have a full catalog. So in order to get access to their AWS certification content courses, I think you'd have to pay them monthly, and that's $59 exactly. Then you have Stefan. He is only on Udemy. He has a website, but it'll just go to the Udemy there. I could not tell you exactly what the price of the course is. I think it's around $15. That's going to be my guess there. The reason it's hard is because Udemy will say a course is $200, but we discounted it for you for 17 or something like that. And they change it per region, right? So I saw it in Canadian dollars. I had to kind of finagle it over to USD dollars. But I think that if you had Udemy, it's called Udemy Business, or they have a subscription model with Udemy, I think you might just get it part of that as well. So there's that. And he's also an AWS, he's an AWS data hero, I believe. So he's also part of the hero family. You have John Bonzo from Tutorial Dojo. I think I have a spelling mistake there. Oh no, there's an S there. Okay, because it's in the domain. And he's really, 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 really well known for his practice exams. I believe he has video content, which is part of, it's like AWS training videos. Like AWS has their own training videos, and it's bundled in with his stuff. So I think those videos are free, but they're part of his system. So if you go there, they're there complimentary there. He has a lot of practice exams, like probably the most out of anybody. Then you have Mike Chambers. He only has an AWS machine learning certification course, but it's priced really high. But like AWS machine learning is really hard to teach. So I think the price might be justified there. There's that. Then there's Hero. She only has the Certified Cloud Practitioner, and it's on LinkedIn Learning. If you don't know anything, like nothing, you know nothing, and you really want to get into cloud, and you need things really as simple as possible, she nails it perfectly, right? Like I can't even explain things as simple as her. You have Pluralsight. What I really liked was the fact that their pricing was so low for a subscription. It's like $29, and it was so simple too. It's just like, there's the number, press the button, you get it. So I really like that. I can't really speak to the content itself. I'm not even sure who the instructor is for that, but I like the fact that that was so easy. You got Wiz Labs. They have a lot of practice exams. Yeah, last time I was there last year, they did not have much AWS content. Yeah, they have some, right? But I don't think they have, like, when I say full catalog, I don't mean they have a full AWS catalog. I just mean that when you purchase it, you get everything in whatever catalog that they present. But they do have some content there. Then you have Wiz Labs. They're $9.95 per course, and I think it kind of like fluctuates. Sometimes it's not $9.95. What's interesting about them is that they have a video course, but I've never heard of anyone using it. So I don't know the quality of it, but they're known for their really inexpensive practice exams. I think that they're probably not the same quality as John Bonzo. John Bonzo's are a lot higher quality there, but they have a lot of them. So if you're looking for volume, you're going to get it there. Last one is Cloud Academy. Scott Stewart, I believe he's an AWS community builder. And he does the solutions architect one, and I think he does the security one. But to get access to those, it's $49. And so the pricing is really complicated. You really got to go investigate all these links yourself and to see the offering, but everything is a little bit all over the place. So you might like certain instructors from the way they do it, but you also might like just the feature offering. And I think I have a good example there. If there's any other ones that I'm missing, I'd love to know. I don't like to miss anybody out. If anyone in the chat knows of anything missing. Yeah, I don't see any mention. I think I got the full list. If you're looking for supplementary YouTube learning content, there's a lot on YouTube. We got freeCodeCamp, Stefan has videos, Foobar Serverless, Sandeep Daz, Bart Castles, myself, Namrata, Digital Cloud Training, Be a Better Dev. Be a Better Dev used to be called simply, I think it was like simply AWS. And he has really, really good free videos. Like they're really, really good, but for whatever reason, he seemed to pivot into a development or dev stuff, which is more broad. I'm not sure why that's the case, but if you haven't seen his videos, they're really good. You should go check them out. And then you have Chirag, and he's a cross clouder, so he does everything. Like he's Alibaba certified. I can't keep up with him. And I really like his stuff because like he really gives you like a very rounded perspective on the cloud. He does a lot of like he takes the exam and he tells you how it went, and he gives you kind of like a fast track, like a preparation guide, not a full course. But I think that it's a really good starting point if you haven't seen his content. Okay. One resource that I think is really, really, really useful, and no matter how old they are AWS Deep Dives. So AWS has been producing deep dive talks at re:Invent for years. They go beyond the documentation to explain the underlying infrastructure. They're normally 1 hour in length and are essential study materials for professional certification. If you're struggling with any particular AWS service, all you got to do is go to Google, YouTube there and type in AWS Deep Dive, whatever it is. It's like really interesting. Like if you listen to when they talk about like how they came up with their virtual subnets and stuff like that, like I can't re-articulate it, but it really helps you remember long-term things you need to know, and you don't need to do it at the associate level, but at the professional level you're going to want to do that. And again, it doesn't matter how old these videos are, because they're kind of a snapshot of how the infrastructure was at one point, right? So you get an understanding of the evolution over time. And so I think that is extremely useful information. But again, it's very time consuming. So you have to decide whether it's the right time for you to do it, okay? One thing that people are very concerned about is content going stale, right? Like when you're looking to choose a course out there, that is a huge concern. And the thing is, I want to tell you that, I've talked to my other cloud provider friends that also make content. And I say, man, I'm worried my content's going stale. And they say, they're like, my content's stale too, don't worry about it. Because basically, as soon as you release it, AWS has changed something on you. You know, I remember when I made, I think it was the developer, I was shooting a video for the introduction, like how to actually create an account. And that was the time when they added that additional field. So I shot it. And then after I released the course the next day, there was an additional field at the login screen. And it's just, you can't keep up with that kind of stuff. And honestly, like, that's basically what AWS is like, right? When you're using it in the field, it changes all the time on you. So I don't think it's a bad thing that content's a bit stale, but there really is no content out there where you're going to end up with like content that is too stale that you can use. And if you're that worried about losing a few points in here and there, then maybe you need to adjust the way you study. Because at the end of the day, if you put a lot of effort into practice, like actually implementing what you learn, it's not going to matter. You know, there's a lot of content out there that is still good. Okay. Another issue I see a lot is overstudying. So people will come to me and they'll be like, "Hey, Andrew, I got 950 or something really high." And I'm going, "Oh, how much time do you spend?" And they're like, "Oh, 4 months, but I got a really good score." And for me, it's not something I want to hear, because I want to hear that people are getting through the content as fast as possible to advance their career. I don't want to see people taking all 3 associates and taking the entire year to do that. And so some strategies I say is like, you know, if you get the associate, maybe you should move directly to a professional next. Or, you know, if you want to do all 3 associates and you really want to have all that knowledge, study them in parallel and then sit the exams back to back. And that's what I did when I got the associates. I sat the exams like 3 days apart because the questions are very similar. But the issue is just like, you don't want to spend too much time at the associate level, because like the information you're getting is marginal. Like, it's marginal additional information. Yeah, you're getting more familiar with other services, but you aren't advancing your knowledge so that it's going to really help your career. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Yeah, people are always paralyzed about studying. That's why I tell people, like for the CCP, I tell people always to book their exam ahead of time. I just say, go book it 1 week ahead, because that thing is like really hard to fail. It's very, very hard to fail. But yeah, you just book it ahead of time. For the associates, I say a month ahead, sometimes 3 weeks. It really depends on the initial assessment for you in particular. But again, it's like, where do you want to be in a year, right? Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah. So Antonio's saying he usually commits to 3 weeks. For professionals, it's a lot more risky, but like you could say 1 month or 2 months. It's really up to you. But at the end of the day, it's like no one's ever ready. You just got to jump in there. And again, I don't want to see 900 scores. I want to, if the score is 750, I want to see you get 751. Okay. One really good resource is the AWS documentation. It basically, if you didn't have any money whatsoever, this is the best place to learn. It might take you a bit longer, but this is actually the way I make my content. So like when we see AWS Lambda, I look it up and I literally go through every single page and then I summarize that information. I'm bringing you basically AWS documentation summaries. If you look at a lot of providers, they do the same. And if you start exploring the documentation, you might notice like verbatim words that are copied and pasted to you. And you go, well, why aren't I just reading the docs to begin with? When you actually go get your job down the line there, you're going to be digging through docs anyway, you know? So it's something that you should get familiar with and spend some time in. Does anyone like the AWS docs? Does anyone not like the AWS docs? Oh, the suggested experience. So Chris is asking about the suggested experience 6 months before CCP, 1 year before associate. That's nonsense. like imagine spending 6 months studying for the CCP. It's 1 week, right? I don't know where they come up with those estimates. Maybe it's the lowest common denominator. I'm not particularly sure on that. Is hands-on experience needed for professional certifications? Daniel asked. Absolutely, 100%. Like a lot of hands-on. It's the fact that it's like, if you do it, you'll know all the caveats to the services, because when I present information to you in the associate, you know, it's like, it looks good on paper, but then when you start digging into things, you just find things don't actually work the way as promised or in variations, right? So like, you know, sometimes you find out you're using CloudFormation and some parameter store values don't work with it. So you have to use Secrets Manager, or you find out that like parameter store is it's not cross region. So you'd have to replicate other stuff. So you have to use Secret Manager in that case, using code build, and code build integrates with GitHub, but it doesn't there's just all these caveats, right? Or like code pipeline. So code pipeline has multiple steps. You're supposed to be able to pass variables onto different stages, but for whatever reason, you can't pass variables from a code build to code deploy, right? And this might not be something that I might highlight in the course. I'm trying to do it more often, like practical things like that. But like at the associate level, it's just like kind of get glossed over. So you think that, you know, code deploy can, or code pipeline can do all these things, but in reality, there are some strict limitations around that kind of stuff. Another person saying, I used to work at AWS, but again, from the dev point of view, I hardly ever have to do networking stuff like VPC configuration or Route 53 stuff. My background is not networking. If you want someone that actually knows a lot about networking, I believe Bart Castle does. And so probably his material is really good if you have a gap that. But like for me, I came as a developer CTO and I transitioned to cloud. And one of the nice things was I didn't really need to know networking that much. But at the end of the day, like it really did help me to know it eventually. So I didn't know it too well at the associate level, but once I went to the professional specialty, I had to buckle down and get better knowledge there. Actually, one of the largest obstacles for me moving to AWS was the fact that I just didn't want to have to set up virtual networking. I was like, why do I have to set up a network? Why can't I just launch a server? You know, you think of like Linoid or DigitalOcean. And so for years, I just didn't use it. But when I started hitting the limits of those single service providers, then it became obvious to me like, oh, you really do need to have this kind of a level of control, right? Whether you want to do it or not. So that's that on there. AWS white papers and guides. AWS has stopped putting in there. I got to show you this, and I don't know why they've done this. I think maybe they're just getting tired of updating their exam guides. But if I go through here, they do not recommend white papers anymore. They used to give you like an exact list of white papers you should read. And they don't do that anymore. Another thing they've stopped doing on their white papers is putting on a time on it. They used to say like July 2020 when it was last updated. And they also don't, I'm gonna pull this up here. They don't make it as easy to download the PDF here. So I have it in PDF format here, right? Or sorry, this is the exam guide. But if I go over to here and we go look at a popular white paper, we'll talk about white papers here in a moment. And we'll go over on the left-hand side, we'll click white paper, well-architected framework. And I'm just looking for our standard one here. There it is. They have HTML Kindle. You used to have a PDF option. So if you want the PDF, you got to go HTML now. And you got to click on PDF up here. But anyway, so a white paper is a persuasive, authoritative, in-depth report on a specific topic that presents a problem and provides a solution. And AWS has over 200 plus white papers. So when you're studying for the professional certifications, these white papers become essential study to round out your knowledge. They are definitely pulling questions from these white papers because I've had questions and they've read exactly from some sort of white paper. The ones that you really care about is the well-architected framework and the 5 pillars. There's some additional ones that are interesting. Usually the way you know is if you go back here, we go up the top, you click on white paper, you got introduction ones. These are pretty good. Like how pricing works, DevOps, overview of web services, the well-architected frameworks over here. So all of these are really good in the introduction level here. And then the methodologies are all really good as well. So those are the ones I would recommend to read. And there's a lot of white papers that are not applicable, but you have to give them a read. Before associates, you didn't have to read any white papers. Now part of the solution architect associate, reading the well-architected framework is essential. If you want an easier time kind of digesting the well-architected framework, you can also look at the well-architected tool because it kind of puts into practice it, eh? Maybe I could just log into AWS here and give it a quick show here. I'm just seeing if I have oh, I do. There we go. So I do have an account open. So if we go over to well-architected tool, and we'll say define a workload, my amazing workload, or banana workload, right? And it's going to make me fill in everything. I know it. Okay. Banana. Oh, it's not letting me type. I'm just going to paste that in there. It's giving me some trouble today, but I think I can just cheat. We'll say all regions. Can I go next here? Has launched supporting for tagging. Oh, we'll say production. Oh, look at this. They have more now. I didn't even know this. This is what I mean. You go in AWS and they just add things. So there used to only be well-architected framework. Now there's these 3. Or those 4. And if we go into here, and we click into questions here. Oh, they changed this interface as well. Wow. But you can go through here and they'll ask you questions, right? And what they'll do, so here's all the questions, and you can go ahead and even read up on each one, right? And so this is kind of a cool way to put it into practice. I mean, if you're studying, you're not going to have a lot application to apply. How to read the white papers. Do we need to know every single concept described or have a good general overview? That's what Daniel asked. I'd say a good general overview at the associate level is pretty much it. Most content providers out there are going to summarize the well-architected framework for you just because it's essential. The other ones, you just kind of have to feel your way through to determine what information that you want. But at one point I was making walkthroughs for these things. I would actually make a video and highlight all the points, but I just couldn't keep up with the amount of white papers. And so I just kind of abandoned that kind of support for that. But yeah, you just kind of have to feel your way through it, eh? But it's a shame that AWS does not tell you which white papers anymore in the exam guide outlines, because now you just kind of have to know from history, right? Maybe at some point I'll just make a list on that, eh? So just make your way back here. Lecture content. So now we're actually talking about like study materials that you could use. So a lot of times you'll see lecture content. That's what I'm doing right now with you. I have slides. I'm talking at you. This stuff will cover services and features. And I just want to talk about ensuring you don't sabotage yourself when you're watching lecture videos. A lot of people, they'll go on autopilot and they'll listen in the background and watch these videos. I have a way of getting around that by having a competency checks for every single one. In my platform, I have like little Quizlets so that you can't just watch a video and assume that you're going to move on to the next one. But the idea is that you need to try to make sure that you're absorbing that information. So I would suggest, like, when you watch a video, go reference the AWS documentation, read up a little bit more, add your own notes. A lot of people like to print out they really want my slides. They take a screenshot of my slides and they'll add notes onto my slides. So whatever you can do to kind of like start writing or thinking about what you're doing, and not just watch stuff, right? So pause after every video and try to put some effort in there, okay? Hands-on, so hands-on labs or follow-alongs. I like to call them follow-alongs because I'd like you to follow along with me. These are video tutorials utilizing AWS for practical knowledge. And so another thing I find that my students do is that they will only watch the videos, but they do not follow along. Again, I have another mechanism to ensure that they do. I have like these checkboxes so that they have to prove that they actually did all the steps. But the thing is that, you could pass an associate without doing, well, maybe not anymore because AWS has introduced exam lab questions. But like with a solution architect associate, you could pass without doing any labs whatsoever personally yourself. But I don't think that's a good idea, because if you do want to proceed beyond the associate or even get a career in cloud, you're going to run into trouble very quickly, because you'll find that you're not actually able to do the work, which is really important. But AWS is now introducing these exam lab questions. I think they're introduced, I think it's in beta right now. I can't remember which exam, it's the solution architect associate or if it's the developer or it's one of the associates. But what will happen now is that you don't just get multiple choice and multiple select, but you might get something like you have 20 minutes to provision an RDS instance, and you'll have to do it either via the AWS console or the AWS CLI. And that's some pretty serious stuff. Just taking a look over here at the Q&A here. Where does that AZ slide come from? Oh, that one here, that's just mine. That's for my certified cloud practitioner course. And I don't know if I have the rights to use that image, but like, like you go to Google, you pull one off there, but no one said anything. And I just really like that photo, eh? I'm pretty sure that that's an Azure data center. When I do my Azure certification video, I just flip the name to like AWS or Oracle there. And so we just say my method is to write notes using pencil and paper and transfer those to Google Doc. And that's a great thing. If you can do something more than once, it's going to really help your memory, right? So yeah, if you write it down and then write it down again, I believe in the rule of three. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay. So because of these exam lab questions, we're going to see a lot of pressure for sandboxes. So sandboxes are temporary AWS accounts that stage a cloud scenario for you to work in. They've actually existed for quite a while. The first ones to have it, I think, was Quick Labs, which I think they still have AWS sandboxes, which I probably should put them on the list. But the idea is that you go in, they have a scenario for you, you press the button, it launches an account. The account will stick around for about 30 minutes to an hour, depends on the scenario for you. And these are great because, they get you exposure to exactly where you need to go. They're going to give you confidence. You're not going to have to worry about overbilling, forgetting to misconfigure stuff. But the thing is, you got to think of sandboxes like bowling with bumper lanes. It does not make you a cloud engineer if you get through it to the end. And you need to spend time in that gutter and experience the pains so you can accelerate your cloud skills. And again, it's self-sabotage. If you just use sandboxes, you're not really preparing yourself. All the pain that you experience and all the stuff without is very important. Okay. And so I mentioned this a bit earlier, but I have this thing called the rule of three of practical experience. And this is now super important because of these exam labs. And so if you really want to master something, you got to repeat the same task with increasing difficulty. So I would say that, maybe not all your providers are showing you these three ways, because then you have to make the content 3 times over, and that's just a lot of effort. But I would say that if you watch a video and you say, okay, we're going to do cross-region replication with S3 and the videos in the AWS console, you should, on your own, go say, oh, how would I do the CLI and SDK, right? And try to replicate that end result and then say, okay, now how could I do this with CloudFormation? Because you'll find that when you use these things, you'll actually notice that there's a lot more going on with AWS than what you just see, right? So like when you spin things, like when you launch CloudFormation, when you use CloudFormation, you have to define every single resource. And a lot of times there are resources that are hidden. You don't actually see them, right? They're just there, or they're part of an interface, but you don't actually define them as something separate. One example I could think of is like user pool client for Cognito. It's not something I remember ever seeing a button for or whatever, but that really does exist, and you do need to configure it. If you are doing the associate, you could just work in the console. I try to say do all 3 at the associate level. If you're going for professional, you absolutely want to do this all the way through. I find CloudFormation is definitely the best way to really know AWS inside and out, because you have to know every single feature. And maybe I'll pop over to CloudFormation in a moment, because I just want to show you what I do with CloudFormation here. I'm just pulling up a doc. So like when I want to find something in CloudFormation and I'm looking up something, let's say I want to set up code build, I'll type in CloudFormation code build. I'll go here. And I just want to kind of impress upon you why you'll know everything when you use code build. So you'll go down here and you'll have to literally read every single one of these. And that's what I'll do. I'll go through here and I'll read what's an artifact. Is it required? Yes. And I'll have to construct YAML files. And this is and I don't ever use these ones. I go all the way down through each one of these. And sometimes you have to click in. So like this one requires this type. So you click into here and that has this configuration. And so you click into that one and it has this here, right? And you click into that one. And so you really know every single option available. Again, if you just want to get AWS certified, you might not want to go that in depth, but if you do think you're going to go all the way, I strongly recommend that you put in that time. Okay. Do we have any questions here?
Let's see. In practical terms versus search, what are your feelings on CloudFormation versus something like Terraform? Big topic, I realize.
Sure. So I think, CloudFormation is the lingua franca of AWS. And when you're using Terraform or CDK or SAM, you're basically going through that stuff just to generate CloudFormation. I think you'll generally understand the same stuff because Terraform doesn't abstract away too much. But I think that if you just want to give yourself the best opportunity for success, I really do think you should use CloudFormation directly. So yeah, I would just recommend CloudFormation for that. Okay. For practice exams, there are paid and unofficial approximations of the final exam. And based on what level of certification you're going for is where I would recommend stuff. So foundational is suggested. You could pretty much get away with, like, if you are an experienced web developer and you use cloud a bit, and you think that you probably want to go for associate, but you're doing the foundational first, you probably won't need a practice exam. If you don't know anything about cloud, you should just at least try the free one that AWS provides, just so that you have a sense of it, or even purchase a single paid practice exam just to make sure that you're not fully off base there. But if you really are trying to save money, you could probably skip it. For the associates, strongly recommended for pros and specialty levels. It's essential. Almost every single provider has practice exams. I have practice exams. Neil Davis has practice exams. Stefan has practice exams. Even Adrian has practice exams. Some specialize in it, right? So I think Neil has a lot, and John Bonzo has a lot, and WizLabs has a lot, and they're all different, right? So everyone has a different style to them. And so you're just going to have to find out what works best for you. What people are really surprised is that they get through all that lecture and lab content, they get to the end of it, and then they're like, yeah, I know everything, I'm going to be great. And they take their first practice exam and they get like 48 to 40%. And they're just devastated.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's kind of why I was saying, like, it doesn't matter if your content is like, if some content is stale or if you're piecing it all together, because your whole world changes when you hit practice exams, right? To me, it's just like you have a lot of stuff you need to learn. You just need to get through it to get to practice exams, because you need to build up that vocabulary, that stuff, so that you can speak the language, right? But the thing is that you don't want to be doing practice exams, and this is like self-sabotage we're talking about here. But a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll try practice exam right away, and they'll expose themselves to like a half of an exam, and then they'll proceed to study. But what they don't realize is that they've now kind of cheated themselves, because the next time they go there, the human mind's really great at remembering things and remembering without actually having to know. And so once you're exposed to a set of practice exam questions, you basically, that's like, you can't really do them again. You can to a certain point. And so a lot of providers don't have a lot of sets. They might have only like 2 or 3 sets. And so a lot of people will have false confidence where they think they're scoring high, but it's actually just because they didn't follow the proper procedure of utilizing them. If you do have practice exams, you do not want to space them out too far apart, right? So like if you finished all your lecture and lab content, and it's like less than a week later, you start your practice exam, you want to be doing them one after another. And then when you go for your real exam, you don't want to leave a big gap in between there as well. And again, I know this because I have metrics on my students, and I just see that those two problems where it's like huge gaps in between practice exams and between the study time there, okay? If you do feel like you need to really know the questions, then what you should do is, instead of moving on to the next practice exam set, you should focus on the ones you got wrong and really know that you know them very, very well before you move on to your next set. Again, my system has a mechanism called the mastery system that makes sure that you keep that good study habit in place there. But yeah, I would say normally for exams, your first one will be 48%, the next one will be 74%, and the third one will be 80% or higher. You want to generally score about 10% higher than what the exam is. So if it's 750 points, you want to get 850, okay? Does anyone have questions on practice exams? Oh, Daniel said that for his dev associate, he got 35%. Again, that's fine, it just has to keep on going up. But if you're not up by the 3rd attempt, I would probably go reach out to somebody and talk to them, because maybe there's something fundamentally missing from your learning, and that's where things become troublesome. Any questions about practice exams? I think we're okay. Okay,
I think we're good. Yeah.
Cool. So now we're on to the last part of the talk here, which is the Cloud Journey Mentor Map. I don't know if anyone saw this. I spent way too much time on this graphic, but I like it. And so when we're talking about AWS certification, we want to, and again, I said, like, if you want to get a job in cloud, it's not enough to get an certification itself. There's these other things you need. And this is basically all those other things. The only thing I guess kind of missing there would be soft skills. We'll say that's the banana, because bananas are soft. But the idea is, like, I kind of have a bit of a roadmap for you to kind of follow what you should be doing between your certifications so that you prepare. And so we'll talk through that. On the wings, you can see we have your journal and your community volunteering. We'll start from there. The first thing is your cloud journal. So I really do believe that it's important And this, again, these are soft skills, but documentation, communication are two essential skills that you'll need. Coding or setting up a cloud infrastructure is not the end all to be all. And so the only way you're going to build up these skills is by doing them, right? And it takes time. So I think that you should start it as soon as possible and do it throughout your entire journey. And I strongly recommend that you do it in public, because the great thing is that if you do it in public, you might someone might provide you some critical feedback, which you might not like, but it will help you grow. And there are a lot of different platforms out there that you can use. You can go on Dev, you can go on Hashnode, you can have a self-hosted page on GitHub Pages, you can have a Medium page, and you can even earn some money doing that. And one thing that I think is like highly, highly untapped, and I don't see anyone doing this, and I should be doing this, but I just don't have time on making courses, is LinkedIn articles. So LinkedIn, you make posts, but you can also make articles. And if you don't cross-post them, you just do them on there. LinkedIn has this thing called Top Voices. I have a couple of friends that are there that are top voices. And so every year, LinkedIn looks at who like makes really good articles on the platform, and they deem them a top voice. And then overnight, they have like 400,000 LinkedIn connections, right? So I'm not saying like that should be your goal here, but I'm just saying that that's an untapped opportunity there, eh? By communication, what do you mean with articles? Well, you're writing the articles, right? So it gives me an idea like your ability to communicate clearly, if that helps for that. The other, if you're not sure what to write about, I've tried to help you out here with the 100 Days of Cloud. So those who may have not heard of it, 100 Days of Cloud started out as a hashtag challenge. The idea was to document your journey for 100 days. And this was a great way to, do that kind of journaling there. And the way the 100 Days Cloud helps is we have a Discord, so you can share your progress there, keep motivated. But another thing is that I have a lot of examples for you, or I should say we have community examples for you. So what I'm going to do is pull that up here for you, just to give you an idea what that looks like. And so we will go here. Just give me a moment. All right, so here we are, the 100 Days of Cloud, and we have cloud ideas. And again, we're always looking for more, but the idea is that we go through here, and if you don't know what to do, right, you need a big list. You go here and say, I want to do serverless, and here's a step like create a Lambda and add 2 numbers up. And so here, what we do is we say, this is the difficulty, this is the estimated time, this is the cost. These are the things that you need to do. Here are the references. Here's some ideas, and here's some tips. I want to give you an example of someone that completed the challenge. And I believe that after their 100 Days of Cloud, I think after their second round, they ended up getting a job, a cloud role, which was their goal. And so here's Stephen. And he filled it all out. And so you can go in here, and some are different than others, right? But imagine you give this to an employer, they can exactly see your evolution, right? Like when you take a certification, I don't really know how you studied, right? I just know that you passed. But this really gives me kind of a snapshot on your learning journey, and it might help you get a job. And it also helps build up those soft skills that you really need, right? So, I strongly recommend that you do that. And we also have a template here. So if you go to the 100 Days of Cloud template, you can create this template here. There's like a clone button. I'm not sure where it is. Yeah, here's the template. It has instructions here. So that's one opportunity for you there, but there's a lot of things you can do. You can do it on Hashnode, wherever you want. That's a recommendation for me there. Another thing that I think is really important is doing community volunteering. I'm a really large proponent of being a volunteer. If you never heard of the AWS Community Builders, I think that's a great program to network and to meet like-minded people. I think presenting an AWS user group is very important, as I'm doing today. I think there's a lot of user groups that are lacking content right now. So you have a great opportunity to get in where you might not normally be able to have that opportunity locally. AWS developer advocates are always looking for help. And I mean that in the sense that they make a lot of content. It doesn't get shared. They don't get a lot of feedback on it. They love comments. They love hearing whether people used it and stuff like that. Being present in social media. So Twitter, Discord, Slack, stuff like that. Share your journey. Tell us that you're doing this as well. Motivate other people. you can contribute to the AWS documentation. This is something I did really early on, is that I just went through and I just started to, Chris is sharing his Twitter. Um, and so, you know, like, I think that's, I think even John Bonza, I think he contributes to the docs as well. But like, I went through and I contributed to a lot of the AI services where like they didn't have any Ruby code examples. So I provided them. And that's a great opportunity for you to, you know, just interact with other AWS employees and, you know, help the community there. And there's a lot of open source projects. So like if you use a service or like a tool like Amplify or AWS SAM or stuff like that, and you're having issues with it or you have questions, just go out and reach, because when you post those questions, maybe other people have the same questions and you're helping them out too, okay? So those are the two things I think you should be doing throughout there, and you should utilize those. One thing, we're now talking about back to AWS, but the number one thing I would say is do not skip the cloud practitioner, okay? People think that this exam is worth nothing because it's so easy. But I'm gonna tell you, since the SSA CO2, and the fact that they dropped at it was a cost optimization. They dropped one of the domains in the exam. The CCP is like one of the few that actually talks about billing and governance. And you know, I've known like senior cloud consultants who are just trying to like beef up their or like fill out the amount of certifications they had. And after they had their professional, their specialty, they went back and took their cloud practitioner. And they didn't realize that they didn't know what AWS Inspector was. They'd never heard of Artifact. They didn't know about well-architected tools. There was some billing stuff they didn't know about. And they were in consultancy, right? And so for them, it was just like, oh, I shouldn't have skipped this thing. So that's one reason why I would not recommend, organizations, right? They don't really cover the other ones, but I wouldn't say that you have to implement it practically, even though I think in my course I do, but it's the only one that actually talks about it, right? With the exception of the security certification. And the thing is, your certificate, like AWS certification, is very stressful. Like doesn't matter what exam, when you go for it, it's really stressful. If you've never experienced the entire process end to end, like going to a test center or even the online experience, like anything can go wrong, right? And I remember like I was taking a professional certification a couple of months ago with Pearson VUE. And one issue was like my computer was heating up really bad because I didn't have it plugged in. I forgot to do that. And so it caused a lot of stress because you're not allowed to get up and move. So I had to try to finish as quickly as possible because it was heating up my hands. But the thing is, like, if you go for an associate that costs more and is even more stressful, and you don't realize like how there's like the environment can factor into it. My first time I ever took an AWS exam, I was almost late for it. And I found out like 2 days before my driver's license was expired, right? Because you have to show 2 pieces of identification. And so I was so glad that it was just my CCP, right? Because the price point is like only $100, and you know, like to do that at associate or professional level would not be fun. So I recommend that you try to go gain confidence by taking the CCP. Just don't get too confident, okay? So there's that there. So on to the next part of the cloud journey, there's these foundational skills that you need to know. And, you might already have them from your prior job. So like for me, I was a web developer or CTO/web developer. So I already had really good cloud programming skills and Linux skills. I had a gap in networking, and my security was okay. And some people come in and they don't have all these 4 skills. I don't have a solution for you as of today. There are like courses, like there's Linux certifications, and there's like foundational knowledge in networking. But the problem with these courses, they're like $300, right? I think maybe there was like one, I don't know if it was, it's not Linux Plus, but I think there was one Linux cert that might've been $100, but I really wish that somebody, and maybe I'll be the one that does it, but I wish someone would make like a $25 or $50 course on these 4 things just for cloud. To really help people, because a lot of people are really scared about not having programming skills. And I wouldn't say that it's hard, but you have to have a lot of general programming knowledge, right? So like, it's not about like, I need to know Python really well. It's like, I need to know all these languages generally good enough to use the AWS SDK, right? So there's things like that, eh? So yeah, you just have to piece those together yourself. But those are 4 things you should be focusing on either before you start the associate or during your associate, okay? And then we'll talk about the associates here. So there are 3 of them, and a lot of people are never too sure which one to take. I'm going to tell you that the one you should take is whatever you feel like, because they're pretty much all the same level of difficulty. And, you know, I just kind of believe that, like, people really worry. They really, really worry at the stage. They're just trying to make the right decision, but it just doesn't matter because you need to know everything anyway. Like, you need to know all these 3. So I just think that it's good to get one of them and then move on to the professional level. Or if you do want to do them, do all 3 of them at the same time. So you can set them back to back, because when you move to the professional level, the level of difficulty is 10 times harder than what these are, right? So, you know, I just think that you need to go and advance there. Does anyone have any questions about the associate certifications? Or which service? Is there a dog that's, oh yeah, there's one there, eh? One that goes there? That is CodeStar. I'm always making fun of CodeStar. I don't know why, but anyway, sorry. Was there any questions?
There was a question about, so there was a question about taking tests now during COVID. You can take tests at home now.
Oh yeah. So Pearson VUE has it. And I also believe PSI has it. Like, that's what I used to go through, was PSI.
Yes.
And I really like the test center that I go to. But I've always heard not great things about Pearson VUE. But now that PSI has one, I've heard even worse things about Pearson VUE's online experience. So now I'm not too sure. I haven't done the PSI one myself. I don't know if you've done that one yet, Chris. Have you?
The last time I took one was 2 years ago. I got another wire for the 3-year, so I don't remember which one I took. I think it was Pearson VUE.
Okay, so that's
but that was not at my house.
Okay, I see. I heard the developer is basically a solution architect plus 10% more stuff. Is that correct? No. So the solution architect associate is basically a mixed bag of everything. The developer associate is focusing on deployment and a lot of Elastic Beanstalk is in there a lot, and a lot of DynamoDB. So solution architect is just kind of a mixed bag of everything. But the thing is, like, if you study any of these, I can't remember. I used to have a percentage of it. I don't know it because the exams have changed a bit. But it used to be like, if you study the solution architect, you could tack on a week or two, like a week each for each other's certification, right? So there's a lot of overlap between all 3 of them, eh? Just look for other questions. Boto 3 is good to learn if you're doing Python. Yep. So someone actually today asked me if there's any Boto 3 courses out there, and I do not have one. That's something that
there is one on Linux Academy.
Oh, there is. Oh,
I'm
good.
sorry. Oh, I guess it's a Cloud Guru now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So did they make it free, or is it part of the subscription? Do you know?
It's part of the subscription.
Okay. And I believe that they do rotate out free courses. So maybe just check in there. Maybe they might make it free. I don't know.
I thought that was going to be your opportunity to plug some of your V Brown bags. I think there's been a couple of those out there as well. But I think Boto 3 is great. And then just know, if you're looking at Python, that's what you want to look at. But for other languages, that might not be the solution you need.
Well, and also, like, the SDK is pretty transferable to all 3 of them, so, or like all languages. So if you learn in Ruby or Node.js, the naming is pretty much the same. It's just the syntax of the language is different. So it's not so much Boto 3. It's just, you know, you got to get a handle of that language, right? But you know, you don't need to know too much. How do you choose between the developer, engineer, professional, solution architect, professional? We'll get there when we get to the professional slide, okay?
I think one of the questions I saw come up here was someone was asking, I think the crux of the question was, for CCP, there's not much things to add to my GitHub. Is there any advice on that? And so I think, you know, when you were looking at some of the resume or the cloud challenge stuff there, you know, those were good things to work on in GitHub. Any code suggestions for cloud practitioner, or not so much because it's less dev focused?
Yeah, it's not very dev focused. I think what's really good at that level is to get familiar with organizations. So set up multiple organizations, know how to log in between 2 of them. And again, explore more like governance tools. So like look at AWS Inspector, AWS Artifact, just like have familiarity with them, but like,
welcome to another
Sorry. There we go.
Sorry about that.
But I would say, yeah, we got some links in here for brown bag stuff for Boto 3. But I would just say like there isn't a whole lot for you to do at the CCP level. It's more so knowing about cloud and how to talk about cloud. And so it's really the associate level where we're actually applying our knowledge in the cloud there. We'll talk about real world projects. I didn't really spruce up the slide because instead I wrote a big README file, which I'll pull up here in a moment. But I was just showing this here prior over here. But I believe that, the accumulation of all your knowledge should go into one big real world cloud project. I was hiring for a cloud engineer as of this week for a company that I work with. And out of all the 900 applicants, we only had 4 people that held AWS certifications, right? So they made my short list. It was for cloud engineers, a cloud engineer. We only had 4 people. And from out of the 4, they all had the same project, which was they had their resume hosted on static S3 website hosting, right? And that's great, but it's not enough, right? And so, like, to me, actually, you're just asking me what would be good a foundational certification challenge. I think would be to like host your resume on S3 with CloudFront or Route 53. I think that'd be an okay challenge. But if you want to get a job, you're going to have to go a little bit farther than that. And so people said, well, what does that look like? And so I had to go ahead and write one up. And so that's what I'm going to pull up here for you right now. If I can get my mouse over here, over to this one. And so this is on the 100 Days of Cloud. So I didn't know where else to put it. But what I've done, and I'll fill out this more. I only spent like 30, 40 minutes on it. But the idea here is that you propose a scenario. So right now we're in GitHub, and I really like CodeCommit. I love CodeCommit because it's cheap and it's secure and it integrates with a code pipeline so easy in other services, but it doesn't have any issue tracking. And that's really sad to me. You could use CodeStar with Jira to kind of get tracking. It's really weird. But for me, it's really sad. And so this is kind of my way to trick people into making a GitHub issues, but also give them a really good project to work on. And so, I just thought about all the things that I have to actually do with ExamPro. And so I just kind of made a whole list here, and it's not even done. And so the idea is that that's why you always want a very simple project, because you're going to have all this stuff underneath. So don't focus on features, like get some simple thing and then go deep on all this stuff. But we have like solution architecting. So under here, we talk about making a technical diagram. I would love it if I was hiring somebody, if they showed me an architectural diagram that they could build one. I'd love to see that, right? Having a technical roadmap. So technical roadmap is where you kind of say like, okay, we're going to start using an RDS instance, but when we get to this size, we'll move it over to Amazon Aurora. And I like to see that with cost analysis. So you say, okay, well, I budgeted out to this, and maybe we only have, for the first few months, we're using that $300 of USD credits, or maybe we only have this amount of money at this stage. So just show me that you can budget and make sure you're going to cost some money. You aren't going to make the company pay a lot of money for that kind of stuff. Research and development. So like up here in Canada, we have the SHRED program. I don't know if the States has one, but we get money back if you actually have really good documentation, right? And you go explore technical uncertainty. So that's a good skill to have. We look at DevOps. Like everything is through CloudFormation, right? Because then you have a very good governance or an inventory of all the resources that you're running. You can easily apply tags, and then from tags you can apply, you can put them into a resource group, and that means that you can go apply roles directly to resource groups, so you're only giving access to that kind of stuff. Golden image, so maybe if you're using EC2, you always have to make sure that your EC2 image is up to date, so you'd have to use like code build or automation and run commands, stuff like that. Playbooks and runbooks, these are kind of important in the ops world or the security world. Streaming your logs all to one central location, doing multi-cloud monitoring. So I mentioned earlier, I really like Azure Monitor. I think it's good that you get exposure to something that's in another cloud and bring that over there. A log analysis. So just because you're collecting logs, you need to be able to read them as well. So that means like investigating CloudTrail, investigating CloudWatch logs. Maybe you make a alert where when you incur a 500 error, it's going to send you an email or it sends something to an endpoint. For general development, you should know how to send out emails. You should be able to use queuing to decouple the applications. You should have code management skills. Again, like hiring cloud engineering role, 900 applicants, and some people had never ever used GitHub before. And for me, that was shocking, right? Like you got to have that. It's an essential skill. Globally available distributed database. It's really interesting. Once you start thinking about RDS and you're going, okay, I need to place it other places. Like one thing I discovered is that Amazon Aurora only has writes in a single region, right? So you can have reads in other regions, but like if you have someone in Tokyo and they're using their app and they're making a write action, it's going to have to go all the way back to US East 1, right? And that might not be a good solution, but you wouldn't know that unless you explored that and you were going down that route, right? Principle of least privilege. A lot of tutorials just go admin access all. So like building up that skill, knowing how to write really good permissions is very important. Look at compliance programs. This is really important for a lot of companies like SOC 2. SOC 2 is really, really expensive. I think it costs like $80,000 to like become SOC compliant. It really depends on your company, but like looking at how much does it cost, what do you have to do to become compliant, what is the process. You don't necessarily have to go do it, but become more familiar with that so that you can understand how to align your skills. You're starting being proactive and stuff. Some places, maybe you go use MFA hardware device, apply application firewall. Again, I just hit the end there. I actually have more up in the list there, but there's a lot of stuff. I think that multi-account, like once you go multi-account, everything changes. Like Chris, do you agree? Like multi-account is just like a whole different world. No? Yes?
I was muted. Yes, I absolutely agree. That's the difference between associate and pro in my brain. It's like once you've gone from single account to multi-account, that's when complexity amplifies, the IAM roles, all of the interrelational things. But that's what we got. I mean, we are now in a multi-account world.
We are. So like to me, it's just like that's super important. I'd love to see someone with multi-account experience for myself, but just kind of give you an idea, because that's, most people getting certified, they're trying to get a job or they're trying to upskill. So hopefully that gives you an idea. I'm already multi-cloud without a single cert. Chris says there. Well, that's good. Does anyone have any questions about the real world cloud project? Do they think it's a good idea, a bad idea? Do they want to see more graphics? Would anybody be willing to do it? See any comments there? We'll see if any trickle in there. But we'll make our way back to our slides. I'm really excited about that one, so I'm hoping people like that. I'll put more energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so we're looking at that. There's another stage I think is important. We'll go all the way back here. How do you build a portfolio? You just build one big app. I don't believe in portfolios, like building like a bunch of small little applications, because they don't really reflect real world usage, right? If you go and you build out a real world app, like the way I'm suggesting, you're going to be encountering the exact same things that companies are experiencing. If you build a toy app, you aren't getting far enough for it to be useful to anybody, right? You know what I mean? It's not enough. So that's why I suggest put all your effort in there. Don't think about trying to make the perfect portfolio. Just build one big app and you'll have all the knowledge you need to obtain that job. But we're over here and we're looking at rite of passage, and that's part of your cloud identity. So we'll go back over here. And so a rite of passage, which occurs when an individual leaves one group to enter another. When you return, you become of cloud age and you now hold a new social status. I hope I don't lose my AWS community hero status for this, but what I recommend is that you go and leave AWS, not forever, just you go over, you check out GCP, Oracle, Alibaba, OpenStack, VMware, something, anything, because you will get tunnel vision if you stay with AWS, because a lot of stuff like is geared towards their platform. One thing, like I didn't know when I did the Azure cert, the AZ900, I didn't realize there was CAPEX and OPEX, and that kind of helped round out my understanding, like how to communicate costs and things like that, or the fact that everybody's using Active Directory. You know what I mean? Like AWS, you can do Active Directory on there. It's not a huge component of certifications and stuff like that. Nobody's talking about this stuff. If you're not working in large enterprise, you might not be exposed to how important it is, but you go over these other ones and that's all they're talking about, right? And you don't even realize that. You go over to Oracle, a lot of their services are dependent on, they're not managed services. Like you go use Kubernetes, you need to know everything about Kubernetes. It's bizarre. But my point is that you get a better perspective, and I even say appreciation. Like You know, I used to complain about the AWS documentations. I went other places and I went, wow, they have really good technical writers over at AWS. The support is really, really good. And you just don't know that if you don't go to other places. So, you know, that's something I think that you should go check out. Okay. Another thing that you need to do is figure out your cloud identity. So for myself, you know, I would say that I'm developer focused, that I'm into security, that I'm into serverless, and I'm into ed tech. If you can define those things, that might help you to figure out what kind of cloud project you should build and also how to market yourself, right? So I think that that's important, that you really try to narrow down what you like to do. Don't try to align yourself to what the market wants, because at the end of the day, you have to be the one that sticks with it. Figure out what it is that you like to do and then broadcast that, and people will find you. But you know, there are a few exceptions where things are just too niche. But you know, generally speaking, like, you know, you have to kind of figure out what it is. Do you like working with containers, virtual machines, serverless? Like, what is it that you like, right? And then narrow that down and just, you know, focus on that, and the work will come to you, right? I think that's a big concern people have. They're just saying, I'm open for anything, but that's that what's that thing they say? You know, trying to catch all the fish, you don't have any fish. Chris, do you know it?
Jack of all trades, master of none. So there's a lot of
yeah, some of fishing,
some fishing analogy.
some kind of fishing stuff in there. So I'm from the north. We're all fish. We're talking about fish. For professional certifications, I don't have a lot of text here, but a lot of people kind of sweat over which one to take and whether they should actually go after that. The only people that I see going for these are really at the consultancy level, especially the solution architect. I've been at events where I've talked to like solution architect, and they're like, "You're not a real developer, like you're not whatever unless you have a professional." I'm like, "Okay," and I roll my eyes, because to me, it's like the solution architect professional is difficult. It definitely tests your ability to summarize information. There's value there, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, I mean, like I don't think it trumps actually building a real project. So unless you're working with an Amazon partner and they want to see those certifications, to me, I don't value these as much as a real project. But you know, if you want a challenge, you can go ahead and do them. Out of the two, I find the DevOps engineer more interesting, more practical, more something that you can apply to your job. The solution architect professional, I just feel like it's torture, you know, because they give you like next to no time and tons of text, right? And so you're developing a particular skill, but I don't know if that necessarily makes you a good professional. I don't know if other people agree with me. Chris, how do you feel about that?
That test is extraordinarily hard. B, it's in no way does it reflect the real world. Okay. There's no time that you're going to be. So the AWS is for, like, you know, as you described, for people that are going to be in that consultancy space, and you're never going to get put in front of a CTO and say, okay, you've got 30 minutes to create, you know, an end-to-end solution without Google or documentation. It's deliberately tough. And I mean, it really stresses your brain and you really get to know things, but it's not the real world.
So yeah, if you like pain, go for it. And so I think,
or you work for a VAR and you have to get it, like me.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Right. But yeah, at the top of there, I have a banana. Again, that's soft skills. I don't have a slide for that. And I think we're basically at the end here. And yeah, we are. So if there's any questions, I'm ready for them.
Some agreement on the ExamPro, the torture that is. While the questions are still coming in, I did make a couple of posts on Twitter, and Adrian Cantrell and Cloud Bart are willing to do a panel discussion.
Bring him in
with you and Hiro Nakamura.
Oh, sure.
On some of the so I've been tweeting out. You'll catch up with it later, but I think we might have scheduled a little panel chat for the four of you to talk about some cool certification stuff.
Cool. Do you want any other cloud? You wanted the panel to be bigger? I could probably get
absolutely, yeah. More the merrier.
Probably wrangle some people. It might get heated though.
That's the best kind. That is the best kind of panel discussion.
Is it though?
Yeah, it is. It really is. You're Canadian though. You're very nice. So.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm told anyway. So
Oh, somebody did mark. I thought you said marking didn't work. You marked.
I don't know. I think did I just do it? No, I think somebody else did. Just oh, you know what? Maybe down here, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
See?
I'm trying to draw. No, I can't draw. But yeah. See if there's any questions. Should we continue to ask questions here or chat? I don't know if anybody wants to come on audio and say hello. You just want to say hello.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, Gene.
Yeah, this is Gene from Stoneham, Massachusetts.
How you doing?
Hey, right on.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm the one who marked the screen. I was trying to find where to type a question,
Oh, I see.
and then it came up, and I put that up there.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm new to all this, and I just want to say thank you for what you put out there. And I just stumbled on this link at Meetup and signed up for it. I mean, it's way more than I expected, and I'm delighted that I did find it. I'm actually scheduled to take the solutions architect test on April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did it because I was too scared, and I decided to just schedule the test and then get ready to take it in a month. So this is a godsend. I mean, everything you put together was what I needed to hear, and you really pointed me in the right direction. And I just want to say thank you for everything.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think I mentioned this, but I actually fail exams all the time. All the time.
Oh, yeah.
And even ones I've already made the content for,
Oh,
it
yeah.
just falls out my ear. I believe that sometimes failure is part of the journey. So people who get really stressed out about it, I say, well, you're gonna just imagine that you failed, you know, that's just part of your journey. That's just what it's going to be, but you just got to do that. And then you'll have to do it again, you know? You know,
and the scary part is like, I don't have any of the background that you mentioned.
Yep.
I'm actually doing a change of career. So I went for the CCP. I got it back in August 2020. And then I got caught up in work, trying to make some money, but I decided that this is something I want to do. So I have no background in programming and all the things you mentioned.
Good.
So the roadmap is really awesome. I'm going to work hard on it to try to have all these foundational skills and stuff. I mean, it's a little overwhelming. There's so much to learn. So I don't know what to expect, but I'm excited to learn something new and see what happens.
Well, I'm hoping one day. Thanks. I'm hoping one day I can fill those gaps there for those essential skills, because I realize I hear it so much. Like they're like, I don't know what to do for programming. And I go, it's not that hard in the gap. They're like, I don't know where to start. It's like, where do you even go? That's the hard part. But
Kim's got a great question.
Sure.
Do you have any advice on how to study when your brain is so tired at the end of a workday?
Oh,
I don't have an answer for that one.
Let me know when you figure that out, because
right,
we could all use some of that advice.
I think there's still value. Like if you're tired and you just don't feel like you can absorb information, you can go through the motions of it. You know what I mean? I still think there's value. Like we talked about sandboxes and things like that. I believe that, if you haven't been exposed to a particular service, like let's say Elastic Container Service or Fargate or whatever, and there are sandboxes, you go through the steps, at least you can go back and say, okay, I didn't know I didn't have the energy to absorb that information, but I remember going through the steps. And so the next time I go there, I'll be ready to learn it when I do have more energy. So that's probably about all you can do in those kind of situations. But it's really hard. When I was starting out, like it was like 3.5 years ago, I was in transition, and the only time I had to study was on the train. And I had this is going from a suburb into Toronto, and I had it was not even a very good book. It's those study books. I don't know if anyone's seen them. It's like they still produce them, but it's basically like, imagine they took the AWS documentation, they just printed it out in a book, but it's more unfun. And it just wasn't easy. It took me like months and months and months.
Those books were terrible. They're so dry.
Yeah, but yeah, there's not much you can do about it. It's just, you have to just deal with what you have, What's more valuable, certification or functioning app using those concepts? There's value in both of them, right? It depends on the level of sophistication of your application. I think that building an application always trumps certification. Certification just shows like, you ever seen that show, like, So You Think You Can Dance? And there's people that are like street dancers and they're really, really good. And so they get on the show, but then they have issues working with advancing their skills because they don't have that general coverage. That's why I think both kind of really matter, right? So I think you need both, but like if you only had time for one, I would probably go after not the certification, but trying to build out a real project. And that's me like selling certification content, telling you not to go for it.
Yeah.
Sounds like one topic before you sleep, you retain information better right before you sleep. Just a small part of nothing big. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's better if you do it before you sleep. Some people like to wake up early, and that's when they like to study. It's just all over the place, eh? Another question for Bruno. Enjoy the talk. I see a lot of your videos talking about doing the solution architect associate, and the other ones. Did you agree with this? I recommend the solution architect. Again, I don't think it really matters which one you start because they're all pretty much the same level. But you know, if you wanted the easiest possible one, the solution architect associate is because it has the least amount of hands-on and it has the broadest amount of knowledge. So if that's all you can do, that's going to be a really good one. Also, you have a lot of transferable knowledge from the CCP to the solution architect associate directly. So that's another thing that's really important about that there. And Bart and I have talked about this on Twitter before, where I recommend, if you aren't going for the solution architect associate, I recommend the developer to start with. He recommends the sysops, and it has to do with our backgrounds, right? Like for my background, I can teach you best developer, and I see the most job potential with that one, and he sees it from the sysops world. Neither of us are wrong, but it's just, you know, what you want to go after, right? And then Al recommends the Linux Academy for labs. Sounds great. So Linux Academy, I believe, is part of A Cloud Guru, and so those lab systems are now part of that. Do they still have the Linux Academy? Does it still exist?
They still have it, but it's the lessons are currently being imported into under the ACG shield. But the labs are still there. The Linux Academy labs are really good.
Yeah. And JP was asking, you know, is the best labs out there for AWS free or paid? You know, I don't know. I think that it's just what your preference is, right? So, you know, there's a lot of reasons. If you are a self-learner, you might do better just doing it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want those constraints, you want that structure, then paid could be the way. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we need to start wrapping this up a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
For the folks that have taken the survey, we are about to start the drawing. Mr. Planky, do you have the spinny wheel of doom?
The spinning wheel of fun, Chris. It's the
I'm sorry,
spinning wheel
fun.
Yeah.
I keep getting that mixed up.
So if you don't mind, maybe making myself a host.
Did I not? What?
You might have. I might not be able to share while others are sharing. I'm not a super host.
I'm gonna relinquish my screen to you.
Yep.
Bananas out of here. All right. Let me see if I can now. So just double. Oh, we got 2 more entries right at the last second here. So just to be clear, what screen am I sharing?
You are sharing the click to spin screen.
Perfect. All right, that's the right one.
Wheel of doom.
It's always a gamble. All right, so we got 2 more entries in here. Let me just get them in. These are $25 AWS compute credits, which are great as you're learning different services that might be outside of the free tier, and you want to do some of those labs maybe in your own sandbox. These can definitely help you out. So just seeing how many entries we have. I have these all tied to your emails if you entered those. So let's give this a roll. I'm going to go for two winners today.
Hit it, Vanna. I mean, Chris.
Ooh. All right. So Big Man Jer at Gmail. I think you're one of our winners. I will send out one of those credits. I've found that I have been a little lazy on those, so it might be this weekend by the time you get it, but I promise it will be coming out. I got to get some automation to make that easier at the end of these meetups, but oh, close there. All right, and 19. I can't pronounce this. It looks like NH is in your email. It starts with a K K and ends with an NH. So if that sounds like your email address, you're a winner. I will be sending out a credit at the end of whenever I get to it, actually. But you'll get a credit, I promise. And
Nice.
that is that.
Awesome. Congratulations to our nightly winners. Andrew, dude, this was amazing. This was a fantastic presentation, chock full of information. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, both on Twitter and in the live feed. Kudos to you. People saying that it was fantastic. Andrew is the man as always. I didn't know. Oh, even my cat is a big fan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's happy too.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew, I'll chat with you offline to maybe get this panel thing going. That sounds really exciting. Adrian Cantrell brought it up. He was like, "I'd love to have a panel to discuss some of the aspects of the presentation." So that sounds like a really fun.
First time this person wants to talk to me.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, first time.
See, community heroes, man. We're bringing people together.
Oh yeah, cool. Good job.
All right, everybody, thanks a bunch. Next month, we will be posting the schedule on the AWS Pug website, and we'll also be talking about it on Twitter at awspug.com. So thanks a bunch, and everybody have a wonderful night.